I'm making my own tabletop role-playing game, and I want it to be super easy for game masters to run. And in this video, I'm gonna whip up a quick adventure to show you just how easy it is. This is my new rules light heroic fantasy TTRPG called Keeper's Call. Well, this is actually just a quick printout of the player's guide, which is already available digitally on my Patreon, and it's actually at the printer right now being turned into a physical zine. In the game, the GM is called the Keeper, and they can write up these notes that magically appear in the player's bags and send them on awesome quests. Basically, it's a fun way to jump right into the action. It's a little gimmick that blends the game rules with the in-world fiction. I think it's super fun. And when I started working on the GM guide this month, well, I guess my goal really for the entire game, the player's guide and the GM guide and whatever comes next, is that it's super easy to run and play, but also gives the GM and the players some tools that will get them inspired to run around a fantasy world that they are creating together. So I came up with this little Mad Lib style note that the Keeper can fill out. One, you hand it to the player and get them going on the quest, but it also acts as a way to build your own adventure from scratch. So instead of filling out nouns and verbs and adjectives, you roll on 12 different D12 random tables in the guide, and you use those answers to fill in the blanks. And I always think it's super cool to actually hand the players the note or the map or, whatever you make. In this case, the note that I'm rewriting on a blank sheet of paper. Nothing fancy, just a fun little prop to get the game night started, get the quest moving. So I'm rolling up the enemy, their lair and minions, the location, some extra danger, and a possible ally. And it all fits into this script here. It's just enough to give the players some insight on where to start their quest in the fiction, and also just enough for the Keeper to come up with a full-on adventure. It's not really fill in the blanks. Well, wait a second. It's literally fill in the blanks. I mean, once you have the script, the note written out, you'll need to do a little more work to flesh out an adventure, but the results on the table should piece together where the blank spots in the adventure are, and that should spark your imagination and get you going to fill in those blanks. Does that make sense? Why don't I just show you how it all works? Okay, so I wrote up the note, and mine says, there's a bloodthirsty vampire causing trouble near the village of Triborough. They've been poisoning the buried dead to build an army of thralls. Venture inside their savage garden lair and put a stop to their plans. But be careful, it's guarded by trickster gremlins and has many dangerous, cursed treasures inside. Rumor has it the vampire respects good manners. Maybe the wandering halfling cartographer knows more. And one last thing, if you can survive the bug infestation and defeat the vampire, you'll find lots of gold. Good luck, brave adventurers. Signed, the Keeper. So I've got enough elements here to entice the players to go on this adventure, but also enough for me to have some fun prepping out an entire session. So I spent a few minutes taking some very messy notes, little plot points, possible enemies and locations, stuff like that. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes in total. And now I'm going to draw up a little one-page map with some fleshed out notes that I can run the entire adventure from. I've thought of a few locations for this savage garden. I'm thinking there's a ruined manor house at the center of Triborough Village where the vampires hold up, and it's totally overgrown with crazy plants and completely surrounded by this garden. And the vampire is poisoning the dead, so I'm thinking that all of the pretty flowers growing in the garden, they actually cry blood in the moonlight. And it's a tradition in Triborough to put flowers on the gravestones of family members. So whenever they use these blood flowers, it actually brings the dead back to life and binds them to this vampire. I think a big clue will be wherever these blood flowers are in the cemetery, that's where the zombies have crawled out of their graves. I also think it would be pretty cool if there was like a huge Venus flytrap that maybe the vampire is feeding people to it, and that's what's making all the flowers in the area cry blood. Like the Venus flytrap is sucking out the blood and it seeps into the roots to all the flowers in the garden. Pretty gnarly, but cool and fantastical. I'm also thinking, because this vampire respects good manners, he super doesn't like all these trickster gremlins carrying on in his garden. I know it says that the gremlins are his minions, but that can be a surprise for the players, that the gremlins and the vampire don't actually get along. I think the gremlins are using their magic to like bring a statue back to life. They've cursed all the gold in the manor, and they've made all the bugs in the garden super big. And that's causing another headache for the vampire, because these big bugs keep eating all of his new zombie servants. And I think the vampire is creating all these servants because he wants to rebuild the manor and kind of take over this town of Triborough. He wants to rule over the town. Now, I should mention that as I'm writing these notes, I'm jotting down just a few stats. So Keeper's Call makes use of my really simple system-neutral stat blocks found in my zines and in my big adventure collection, Dragontown and the Darkness Below. There's just health, armor, speed, and damage all on a 1 to 4 scale. It's supposed to be super intuitive, so a 1 is less than average, a 2 is average, 3 is powerful, and 4 is like big deal stat. So just keeping that in mind, it's really easy to make up stats on the fly. Like a zombie is going to have a really low speed, and a giant beetle is going to have some powerful armor. For monsters, health is hit points, but it's multiplied by how many players there are at the table. Armor soaks up some damage. Speed is how many attacks they make per round, and the damage is just how much damage they do when they hit. Really, really simple. So simple, in fact, I probably didn't even need to take up space on this one-page outline. Would have been really simple to come up with stats on the fly for whatever monster the players decide to fight. Now, this map isn't an actual representation of the vampire's savage garden. It's more like a visualization of how the adventure might play out. So I'm definitely not sharing this map with the players. I guess when I do finish this one-page outline, I could make an additional map of the garden, but really this is just representing how the players are going to flow through the adventure. So, everything points to a confrontation with the vampire, but they could enter the garden from any direction since it completely surrounds the manor, but they'll always start at the garden entrance. And then they can move on from there to the graveyard or to the thicket. There's also going to be some giant bug tunnels that connect the areas. I got a cool idea for those. So if the players are navigating the garden normally, they're going to roll on a random encounter table in each area. Gremlins might steal an item from them, or they might run into some zombies, or they might find some of that cursed treasure. Or they could choose to go through the bug tunnels underneath the garden, in which case they'll roll on a different set of random encounters. They could run into a big spider or an antlion, or maybe some non-cursed treasure, or they could run into the halfling cartographer who's very, very lost. And actually, the wandering halfling cartographer is a little Easter egg in these adventure roll tables. I like the idea of the keepers being able to introduce Flick Silverpin. He's the fictional in-world author of all my monthly TTRPG zines. It'd be cool if he shows up in the world for the players. Now, with the roll tables in the Keeper's Guide and about an hour of brainstorming, I came up with this entire adventure, and I think I could run a pretty fun session just off of this one page of notes. And I think I could get the players excited for that session by handing them this Mad Lib style note. And I hope by showing you this whole process, it gets you inspired to write up your own adventure. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It can be really, really fun. And maybe you want to check out out Keeper's Call. It's on my Patreon. The digital version of the player's guide is already available there, and I'm working on the Keeper's Guide, getting it all in layout and illustrated. That'll all be wrapped up by the end of this month, so check out the link to my Patreon in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!